Since 2015, Jared Stillman has rocked Nashville sports.
That team freaking stinks.
And now he's back. The takes are hotter than ever.
I mean, let's be honest, he just can't coach.
Welcome to Stillman and Company.
Stillman and Company on the 440 Sports Network, presented by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Here today on the program, we are absolutely loaded. We are straight off the airplane. That's right. The Stillman Hislop family got back from Hilton Head. We landed about an hour and a half ago. And so here we go on the program. And today was a good day to push the show back to 3 o'clock Central Time, since Mike Borgonzi was going to be speaking at 2 o'clock Central Time. Anyways, we will react to his comments. Plus, there's something that I am going to submit myself to, because I think some of you guys might be right, and I might be the problem. We'll get to that. When we went to Hilton Head, I mean, as soon as the show was over on Wednesday, we were up in the air and on our way to Hilton Head. We were there until today, and I was prepared to do the show if I had to. I said yesterday, if Tennessee beat Michigan, I was going to go live after the game was over, and instead I was in the hot tub in Hilton Head at halftime because that game was a total blowout. We'll get to that. And we've got so much to get to here today on the program. And instead of doing a show every day that is just a Titan show, I could just do a Titan show. I could do it, where it's like, okay, let's do one show on the Titans. That's 30 minutes. And then let's do another show. And then we'd be double dipping on the streams and the views and everything else. I decided not to do that because I just want to do a daily show that was like my radio show, that is an hour that's essentially commercial free. That is what you'd be hearing if I was just cranking you home or cranking it on your drive home. And so we'll hit the Titans. We got the Vols to get into. The Predators are stinking it up after I declared a week ago that they were going to make the playoffs. And at the same time, we'll get into all of it here on the program for all of you. Of course, like and subscribe and tell your friends, especially your older friends that may have a hard time figuring out how exactly to get to this, so that they can like and subscribe and they can watch the show as well. I do want to start today's program before I tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I want to send out my well wishes to my friend John Glennon. So John Glennon posted today on social media that John Glennon has been dealing with cancer. And that's why we haven't heard much from John Glennon lately. And look, I've had my back and forths with Glennon over the years. There is not a professional who covers the teams more professional than John Glennon. And I remember when John Glennon was let go by the Tennessean after all those years there on the Predators beat and then covering the Titans and covering everything. And I remember Floyd and I talking about how there wasn't somebody that we would tip the cap to more than John Glennon. So John Glennon had terrible back pain. John Glennon went in. John Glennon found out that he's sick, and he is fighting it. And I hope, and it sounds like he's winning it. He's going to be back on the beat, and he wanted to let everybody know that. And I want to send my best wishes and my thoughts and my prayers out to John Glennon, because he is as good of a guy as he seems. Okay. We're going to have to do some introspection here. First, though, I want to tell you about Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. I love Hiller. They take great care of my home. They can do the exact same for you. They've been in business since 1990. They are family-owned and operated, 100% satisfaction. If happy, you'll be, or the service is free. If a customer is not pleased with the work that Hiller performs, they will make it right. Learn more by visiting happyhiller.com with professional, experienced, trustworthy technicians that come into your home and leave it clean and better than they found it. Care is their core value. That's right. They believe that when they care about others, everybody wins. And that's why they take care of the customer on every job, every time. That's Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Proud supporters of the Preds, the Vols, and Vandy. That's Hiller. Call the Happy Face truck today. Okay. I want to start the show on this. So I think it was good that I took a couple of days off and I went to Hilton Head, because a couple of days without doing the show and more kind of thinking about the show and more thinking, again, that introspection. And I noticed something about me that many of you have brought up. And that is that when it comes to the Titans, I feel as if right now I am snapping back negatively towards everything they say or do. So the Titans could put out a post that says, it's sunny outside today. And my natural inclination is basically going to be like, screw you, go worry about winning games. Don't need to hear your take on the weather. What are you, a meteorologist now? And I don't like that about myself. I notice when it comes to the Braves, they have a pitching injury. Spencer Strider went down and half their rotation's out, and I'm totally cool with it. I'm totally cool with it. And the Predators have lost 3 in a row, and they went from a 56% chance of making the playoffs to a 21% chance or whatever of making the playoffs. And I'm cool with it. If they make the playoffs, great. If they don't, I'm not going to get upset. Vandy gets knocked out in the second round of the tournament, a game they should have won. I was not happy about it. But I shrugged my shoulders and said, hey, it's better than it's been with Mark Byington coaching the men's team and Shea Ralph coaching the women's team. Tennessee yesterday, and we'll get to them, but they lost by 100. And I don't think Tennessee lost anything yesterday. I don't think there's anything negative to say about the Vols other than the fact that they got beat by a gazillion yesterday. I think Tennessee should be proud as hell with the team that they had, that they got to the Elite Eight. And then there's the Titans. And every time the Titans do anything, I get all pissed off. And many of you, and I don't think it's you people that are watching this show, even though I have said I think that my haters watch just as much as the people that like me. I feel like the people that have followed me from the radio to the podcast, they get me, and I appreciate that. But I do feel like there's a lot of people out there who think that I just make this shit up, who think that I wake up and I roll out of bed and I say, you know what? What can I do to troll Titan fans today? What can I do to piss off Titan fans today? What can I do to crap on the Titans today? And I don't do that. I don't do it. I hate the new uniforms because I feel like it throws away everything that I lived through as a huge fan in 1999 and 2000. And so yesterday, as I was going to sleep, I saw that Jim Wyatt posted a sit-down that he did with the team CEO, Burke Nihill. And it was a very, very positive discussion that Jim had with Burke Nihill at the NFL owners meetings. And what I wanted to say something snarky, and I decided I'm not going to do that. But Jim even put in the tweet, Titans President and CEO Burke Nihill discusses the positive feedback on the new uniforms and logo and progress and potential first events at the new Nissan Stadium in 2027. The hope for multiple Super Bowls. During a break in the meeting, I chatted with Titans President and CEO Burke Nihill on a number of topics, including feedback on the new uniforms and logo, a new Nissan Stadium update, and potential first events in 2027. Nihill said the feedback from players and fans has been incredible since the reveal on March 12th. The excitement from the fan base has shown up at the team store at Nissan Stadium. It's just so positive, 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 positive. I'll give Burke credit, by the way, because Burke dropped his pants when they hired Brian Callahan, and he got called out for it. And you could tell in this story that Jim wrote at the Titans website, he's staying as far away from football as humanly possible for being the team CEO. When asked about Robert Saleh, quote, he certainly has a presence about him, and I think everyone has been impressed with the staff that he brought in. I've talked, and you know what? And I think I kind of have too. I don't care about Gus Bradley. I mean, to me, Saleh runs a defense, but I think Brian Dable, that's a good offensive coordinator hire. Bones Fossil, that's a good special teams coordinator. So you know what? I will give credit to the coaching staff. He said, I've talked to Mike Borgonzi, and he is really appreciating working with the new staff, whether it was in free agency or he is getting ready for the draft. What matters is that what they are able to do out there on the field. But it definitely feels like the air in the building has changed in a good way. He should have just left it at that. What matters is what they are able to do out there on the field. And I don't know what, but somebody said, what's your problem with the Titans? I don't know. When I was in Hilton Head, I am one of these guys who I can't turn it off. Like, I'm sure there are some people out there that they go on vacation, they slam the laptop, and they're like, I am just focused on the white sandy beach and the beautiful views and the wonderful resorts and the great food and that's not me. Like, I remember working out in the morning in Puerto Rico, right, kind of in the midst of COVID. And you had to reserve a time to go to the health center at the resort because it was COVID, and they could only have like 2 people in the gym at one time. So I had to set a 6:30 a.m. workout reservation at the fitness center in Puerto Rico. And I remember listening to Robbie and Joe because I just can't turn it off. I was in Costa Rica last year texting Adam Vingan because I just can't turn it off. So I'm listening on Thursday to a football show in Hilton Head. And Braden and Nick Suss, dudes I love, are just pants off over everything that they heard from Burke Nihill about the new stadium and how great everything is. And Suss and Braden, 2 guys that are not, I love Braden with all my heart. I think he can be a little bit of a homer sometimes, but they're not working for the team. And I know they're not working for the team. And they are just sitting there talking about how great everything at the new stadium is and how great it's going to be. And if you want to get tickets, you're going to have to get PSLs because, there are going to be so many PSL holders. It's going to be so hard, and it's going to be, and I'm like, what? I'm like, no, it's going to be hard to get tickets if the team is good. And right now, the team's not good. So it's not going to be hard to get tickets. I don't care what Burke says. You can go to StubHub or SeatGeek or whoever you use. I don't endorse any of them, so do whatever you want. But you can get tickets. It might be hard to go to the first game at the new stadium if you're not a season ticket holder. But the idea of it being hard to get tickets for the Titans, and I'm sitting here losing my shit in Hilton Head because Braden and Suss are like, oh, yeah, no, we sat with Burke Nihill, and this stadium, it's so great, and the fan base, it's so great, and the PSLs, it's so great, I'm like, guys, what are we talking about here? I got an email today from the Titans that apparently the Titans are going to have a Titans house open house. And I don't know what day it is or whatever, and I'm not advertising, look it up yourself if you want to go. And they're inviting the media to come out, and I guarantee you they'll have 104.5 out there, and all you'll hear about is how great it is out in Titanland, and these PSL sales are probably incredible, and oh my God, you should see it. The reason they're having an open house, I think, is because they want people to come out and buy PSLs because they have PSLs to sell. And the reason they have PSLs to sell is because they're asking for a shitload of money for these PSLs. And so they invite the media to tour new Nissan Stadium. Burke tells Suss and Braden, hey, if you want to get in, it's going to be so hard. We're going to have so many standing room only tickets because it's going to be so hard to get tickets to a Titan game. And then they get on there and talk about how hard it's going to be to get tickets. I'm like, what? And again, this goes back to that introspection I did. That's the right word, right? Why am I so negative when it comes to the Titans? Everything. I see Jim Wyatt post about, I sat down with Burke Nihill, and I'm like, oh, I wanted to say something snarky. I wanted to talk some shit. I wanted to say, I don't give a shit what Burke Nihill says. Why am I so angry? So, I have 2 thoughts on this. One of them is assessing it now about Titanland and about how sometimes I just can't take it. And the second thing is something we're going to do on this program. I'm going to tell you what we're going to do on the program first before I get into this, just how I can read this story at the Titans website and just roll my eyes, and it's everything they do and everything they say, and I don't know why I'm acting like this. We are going to have a program, either this week or next week, called Jared Visits the Titan Pist. And so we are going to have somebody as our Titans therapist. I already know who it is. And there are direct instructions on how to be a Titan Pist. For instance, a therapist doesn't, in my experience, a therapist does not sit there and tell you when it comes to your relationship with your current girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, wife, whatever. Very few therapists sit there and actually say, your wife is 100% wrong and you are 100% right. In my experience, it's somebody talks about their frustrations and it's okay, so why does it make you feel that way? And then there's sort of a path. And so there are explicit instructions for how we're going to do this. I even have an intake form that I have to fill out that we will do here on the program. And we will have an on-camera Jared Stillman Titans therapy session where we get to the bottom of why I am so negative and so angry about this team. And if you are somebody that thinks it's all a shtick, be my guest, that's fine. But I mean, I plan on just letting it out about my feelings. Now, to the negativity that I feel like I have, and again, talking about the new stadium and the new uniforms and everything else. I think what I'm having a hard time with the Titans is how the Titans are always trying to convince me, it feels like, of something that I feel like isn't true. And because there have been so many things in the past 4 years, 5 years, and I mean, this even goes back to Robinson and Vrabel, but there are so many things over the years that they have had to convince me about that are not true, that ended up not being true. There are conversations that I have had which are, oh, Jared, you don't understand. Jared, you don't get it. Jared, you don't. That I have looked at it and said to myself, oh, my God, every time I'm told I don't understand it, then I feel like, no, I was right. I was right about the Pee Wee program. Jared, you don't understand. I was right about Rand Carthon when I called him incompetent. Jared, you don't understand. Mike Vrabel is holding Rand Carthon back. I mean, I remember when Vrabel and I used to get into it about Craig Aukerman and his New England comments. Jared, you don't understand. Think like a man, Jared. Craig Aukerman, we were second in the league in net punting. And I was right about all that. And it's not about being right. It's about, okay, I voice my concern. You, talking about the Titans, tell me not to be concerned. No, Jared, you totally are. You don't understand. And then I end up being right. And it was my concern the whole time. Same with the Chad Brinker stuff. I listened to that Chad Brinker podcast, where we made fun about the AI injury model. I sat there and listened to that Chad Brinker podcast, and I was on a walk. And this was before the Super Bowl in 2024, the Vegas Super Bowl. I went on like a 2-hour walk. And the For You tab on Twitter had somebody that said, if you feel bad about the Titans, listen to Chad Brinker's podcast and you will feel so much better. And I said, okay. So I'm going to listen. I am going to listen to this Chad Brinker podcast. And it was such bullshit, as it has been well documented, with Brinker talking about he and Rand were long lost brothers. And how, oh, man, this committee, they had to pick oh, my God, this is unbelievable. This collaboration and the AI cancer curing model from my great MBA program. And I'm sitting here listening to this, and I'm on this walk, and I'm like, this is horseshit. And so that Monday at the Super Bowl, I'm like, all right, I listened to this Chad Brinker podcast. I think this is bullshit. Let's play some cuts. And immediately, Jared, you don't understand. Rand Carthon doesn't go to the Senior Bowl. Again, I worked with an NFL general manager. The NFL general manager that I worked with is the best general manager the Titans have ever had. He would have gone to the Senior Bowl. Rand doesn't go to the Senior Bowl. Jared, you don't understand. We had Thomas Dimitrov on our show, who hired Rand to the Falcons. And he was like, these guys nowadays, they don't all go to the combine and they don't all go to the Senior Bowl. I said, what about you? Well, I would go. Oh, okay. So I guess the way I look at it is when I see the Titans PR pushes, I take everything they say with the utmost level of skepticism. And I think the Titans have given me reason to do that. Even that Jim Wyatt article where he talked to Burke, and Kaharski had a similar article. The Titans are hopeful to get into the Super Bowl rotation. So the Titans have been a lot more public as far as the business side, which is Burke. The Titans have been a lot more public. They were at the Super Bowl. Now they're at the owners' meetings talking about the Super Bowl, and there have been some other things that I can't really say. But the Titans have been more public as far as the NFL is concerned about the Super Bowl and the new stadium and everything else. And the thing that Kaharski and Jim Wyatt both wrote about is that the Titans are eager to get into the Super Bowl rotation. How Vegas is going to get multiple Super Bowls. Atlanta, multiple Super Bowls. All these different cities are getting multiple Super Bowls if they're good. Indianapolis, 1 Super Bowl, goodbye. Minnesota, 1 Super Bowl, goodbye. Detroit, 1 Super Bowl, goodbye. Arizona gets the Super Bowl consistently. New Orleans gets the Super Bowl consistently. Las Vegas is going to get the Super Bowl consistently. Los Angeles is getting the Super Bowl consistently. And the Titans want to have Nashville get the Super Bowl consistently. That should have been part of the deal when we built the new stadium. And that was something that I kept saying then. Because when we were talking about building the new stadium, and I think the Titans deal with the city was so freaking good for the Titans. And I'm not talking about the deal for the new stadium. I'm talking about the deal for the old stadium. It's kind of like the Dak Prescott contract, where the deal was so good on one side of it that I understand why Jerry paid Dak $60 million a year, because Jerry didn't have any other options. The deal for the stadium was so good for the Titans, the current stadium, that the Titans got a good deal on the new stadium. And I was kind of listening to everybody's arguments and hearing everything out, whether it was from Ben Eagles, who was negotiating on behalf of the mayor himself, the Metro Council, the Titans. I talked to everybody. And I kept saying, because people kept saying, well, this new dome stadium, we're going to get the Super Bowl, and we're going to get the Final Four, and we're going to get WrestleMania, and and I'm like, well, no shit, you're going to get the Super Bowl. That's part of the deal. But what I would tell you is when it comes to the Super Bowl, I mean, I want to be, hey, we're going to build you this stadium. This is Nashville, Tennessee. I want at least 2 Super Bowls out of this. And now the stadium is like 90% built. And now the Titans are arguing about, hey, we should be in the rotation. We should have been in the rotation the whole time. That should have been part of the deal for the new stadium. That's what I was saying then. So that's first thing. As far as the skepticism and the cynicism and everything else, everything the Titans say, I keep clapping back on, because I feel like in Titan land, it's all just about how great everything is all the time. And not one person wants to kind of call it out ever and say, excuse me. And I think I've had to do that so many times over the last handful of years that it's just woven into everything about me. So at some point, either this week or next week, we will have Jared visits the Titans Pissed, my Titans therapy session. and it will be for everybody to see. And I will turn off the comments, and I won't turn them off. I mean, you guys can talk amongst yourselves, but I will not look at them while me and this Titans therapist are having our Titans therapy talk. That's the first thing. I do want to tell everybody, by the way, draft night is going to be super special. You know, I will be doing a draft show. It won't be the same draft show, but it'll actually probably be a lot better. And so for draft night, and Braden has talked about this on a football show, so now I can talk to everybody about it. RSVP for the 2026 NFL Draft Party to benefit our kids. Email. Here is the email. If you want to go to the draft party, our draft show that Thursday night, and then our Saturday night special, but I will definitely be there for the Thursday night. $40, all you can eat, all you can drink, ML Rose in East Nashville with prizes and a first round competition. And you know who will be hosting the draft show? So, Thursday night, ML Rose, East Nashville. If you want to go, in crowd at sinkersbeverages.com. That is in crowd at sinkersbeverages.com. Get those $40 tickets. We will see you on draft night. By the way, TDG, last year, you promised you were going to come down to Twin Peaks for the draft show. You didn't come. So this year, well, I better see you out at ML Rose in East Nashville. So I'm just saying that when it comes to the draft show, there are your Thursday night draft plans. And unlike years past, this is an uncensored Jared Stillman on draft night, and we don't know what the Titans are going to do. So get out. Again, that's in crowd at sinkersbeverages.com, and I will keep hammering that until draft night. Okay, speaking of the latest horse crap coming from the Titans, at the owners' meetings, right now, Mike Borgonzi spoke with the local media earlier today that has made it out to Arizona. And Mike Borgonzi said one thing that I just thought to myself, oh, shit. Here we go again. So in free agency, the Titans cut Lloyd Cushenberry, and I was fine with cutting Lloyd Cushenberry because I didn't think Lloyd Cushenberry is very good. And I still am not of the belief that, well, you cut Lloyd Cushenberry and you haven't signed a center, and so you probably should have just kept Lloyd Cushenberry. No. He stunk. I believe that Austin Schluttman is probably better than him. But as free agency was going, I kept saying to myself, where's the center? Where's the right guard? And I kept waiting and waiting. And today, at the owners' meetings, according to PK, Mike Borgonzi said there will be competition at center and a right guard. Plus, we have the draft. It's pretty strong there, day 2 and day 3. Oh, shit. Again, you want me not to be negative about the Titans. Where have I heard this before? There will be competition at center and right guard. Oh, and by the way, we have the draft, Jared, and we'll be able to fix it during the draft, day 2, day 3. No, you can fix it in round 2. That's it. You cannot have a competition on the offensive line in training camp in 2026. It doesn't exist. Back in the day, you could have competition. And the reason you could have competition is because guys wore pads in practice. There were two-a-days. Guys played in the preseason, all 4 games. There are no padded practices anymore outside of the mandatory minimums, which are like 10 padded practices during training camp. There are 2 joint practices, and outside of that, there is very little competing on the offensive and defensive lines the way that you would compete as far as football is concerned. The only way you get in shape is by doing something. The only way you get better is by competing the way you would compete in a game. And the offensive line doesn't get to compete the way that they would compete in a football game outside of the preseason, and nobody plays it anymore. 2 years ago, with the great Bill Callahan, the Titans said we were going to have competition at right guard, where they signed Sadiq Charles, and right tackle, where they had Nicholas Petit-Frere, a.k.a. PT, and Jalen Duncan. And I kept saying, that's kind of bullshit, because I don't think you can do that. And the Titans said, no. Bill Callahan, Brian Callahan was like, well, we'll have options. We'll have options. You know, guys will get cut at the end. And so when that happens, we'll be okay. And so what ended up happening was Sadiq Charles quit 3 days into training camp. So Dylan Radins was given the right guard spot. PT missed most of training camp, showed back up, was given the right tackle spot. The Titans, and again, this is why I don't trust a single word they say, told everybody how great the right side of the line had gelled, how they had earned those spots. And by week 2, it was an unmitigated disaster that couldn't be fixed. And then Brian Callahan told us, well, you can't really fix right tackle. Oh, no shit. Rand Carthon telling Nick Suss, I mean, there aren't teams that are just getting rid of right tackles. I know. So here is a new general manager who didn't get burned by saying there would be competition on the right side of the line, who is now saying there will be competition. Again, I don't understand. How can you have a competition on the offensive line during training camp? Are you planning on the first 2 preseason games playing your starting offensive line meaningful snaps? Because if you're really going to have a competition, so let's just say that there's a competition at right guard between Cordell Volson and Jackson Slater. So that means that both J.C. Latham at right tackle and Austin Schlottman at center, who I think is going to be the center, they're going to have to play with both guys. And it can't just be 2 series, 3 and out punt, get a first down, 9 plays, punt again. Good job, guys. Go get some water and take your pads off. You can't do that. I mean, if you're going to really have a competition, you're going to need one guy to play the first quarter at right guard with the starting center and the right tackle, and then the next guy play the second quarter, and then the next game you're going to have to flip them. That's a real competition, but you can't do that in 2026. So I don't get that. I don't understand. There's going to be competition, and we might use a day 3 draft choice? What? You know, I actually was looking up the UFL rosters the other day. Don't ask me why. I was in Hilton Head. I had a gummy, which, by the way, is legal there. I had a gummy, and I was looking up these rosters of the UFL. And do you know what guys I found on the UFL rosters? Leroy Watson and Jalen Duncan. The starting right tackles for the 2024 Tennessee Titans are in the UFL. That's what happens when you wing it on the offensive line. Now, I think you can wing it at a position, but they're going to wing it at 2 positions, center and right guard. And again, you can't have a competition on the offensive line in training camp anymore. It doesn't work that way. And I have to believe Mike Borgonzi's smart enough to know that, but Mike Borgonzi, hate to say it to everybody out there, hasn't done anything yet that would show me that he's got a full grasp of competence when running an NFL team. He didn't improve the win total from last year. The quarterback he drafted number 1 overall stinks, at least statistically speaking. He hasn't shown me that he knows what he's doing. I hope he shows me what he's doing, but he hasn't shown me that. So when he says, oh yeah, we'll have competition, you'll see. I'm reminded of the competition between PT and Radins at right tackle in 2022. I'm reminded of what happened in 2024 with PT and Duncan and John Ojukwu, and I think he might be in the UFL too. I mean, it's just competition. I'd rather the Titans just come out and say Austin Schlottman's going to be the starting center. I'd rather them just come out and say it. I'd rather Mike Borgonzi just say, we signed Austin Schlottman. Brian, even though he's got 925 career snaps over 6 seasons, Brian Dable is convinced this guy can be our starting center. Austin Schlottman is our starting center. Because that's what it's going to be. And instead, it feels like they're doing that hocus pocus thing, which is why I can't trust them. They're doing that hocus pocus thing about, oh, yeah, we're going to have a competition. I don't understand how you end up having a competition in 2026 in training camp when they barely wear pads, when they don't play in the preseason games. I don't understand. The second thing Borgonzi said, Buck tweeted this out, quote, Titans general manager Mike Borgonzi said they did not inherently go into this year's free agency with the intent to add so many players with previous connections to the coaching staff, but it just ended up working out that way. So they didn't go into free agency thinking we're going to go sign a bunch of guys that have played with the previous coach, but everybody that we thought was going to fit our team happened to just jump off the page having played with that previous coach. So when the pro scouting department was going through the potential free agents and they were setting their free agent board and they were deciding how they wanted to allocate their money, those personnel meetings where Chad Brinker was in them, then Marino was in them because they would involve the cap, and the pro scouts were in there. And you mean to tell me that they came up with a list and they said, okay, here's who's going to be perfect for our team. And Borgonzi looked at it and said, oh my God, you're right. Daniel Bellinger, Austin Schlottman, Wan'Dale Robinson. We got to have those guys. And then they handed off the defense and he said, oh man, Jermaine Johnson, John Franklin Myers. I mean, these were the guys. I just got out of a meeting with Robert Saleh and Brian Dable, and everybody that you said, they said. I mean, is that not amazing? I have to ask. Do you believe that? Do you actually believe that, hey, it just happened to work out that all the free agents we went after happened to play for the Giants and the Jets under Robert Saleh and Brian Dable? I don't know how you could believe that. And so, again, maybe I'm the hater. We're going to really dive in. I mean, I don't even know how long the therapy show is going to be, but I need it. Like, I need the guided introspection on why everything the Titans do inherently pisses me off. But then I see we're going to have competition at right guard and center, and I'm like, oh, there they go. There they go. There they go. Again, just say Austin Schlottman's the center and be done with it. And I think that, you know, if you're Mike Borgonzi, it's okay to say, hey, right now we have Slater and we've got Volson, and they can play right guard if they need to, but we'll see. I mean, Vrabel, to his credit, when there was talk about Dylan Radins as the starting right tackle going into 2022, Mike Vrabel said he's not ready yet. But it's my charge of offensive line coach Keith Carter to get him ready for the start of the season. Vrabel told you right then and there, this is going to be a work in progress, and it may not work out. It's okay to say something like that. But Borgonzi's like, I mean, we're going to have competition, and we can still go get guys in day 3 to be your starting center with Cam Ward. What? So I don't get that. And it's okay to sit there and tell people the truth, at least a little bit. I think that should be okay. We'll get to your reaction on all of this here on the program. First, I do want to talk about the basketball game yesterday, Tennessee, Michigan. Whoa, that was an ass kicking now. And that was an ass kicking that I'm not sure I saw coming. I thought Michigan was going to win. And I told Lindsay, I said, because we were planning dinner with her parents and what time we were going to go. And I'm like, look, if UT wins, I'm going to go live. I thought UT was going to get beat by Iowa State. I thought Rick Barnes coached a hell of a game against Iowa State in the Sweet 16. And Tennessee, they've played well in this tournament. I give them credit. And so then they get matched up with Michigan. And Michigan clearly has kind of figured things out in the NIL era. They pay more for coaches, which they're doing with Dusty May, and then they pay more for their team. So they've got a good coach, and they've got a good roster because the NIL money. So I expected Michigan to win. I expected it to be close. I didn't expect Michigan to win by 100, and they could have won by 100 last night if they wanted to. Again, I was planning on doing an immediate reaction if Tennessee had made it to the Final Four. And yet, I don't think there's anything bad about what happened yesterday to the Vols. Other than the fact that the Vols got smoked. If you wanted the Vols to win, you were probably disappointed. And I understand. And it would have been one thing if the Vols had been competitive and then had gotten their teeth kicked in, at the end, and they lost by 6 or 7. We would have said, hey, they gave it all they had, but Michigan they got housed. But this game, this Elite Eight game, and I know it sucks that they've been to the Elite Eight 3 years in a row, and they really haven't gotten close to the Final Four. I mean, I thought they probably could have won that game against Purdue with Dalton Connect, but Zach Edey got about 87 calls. And so it was going to be tough to beat Purdue that year. Last year, they had no shot against Houston. They started the game off with some horrendous drought, and then they had no shot to beat Michigan yesterday. But I thought that yesterday was a true house money game for the Vols. I really thought that they could win, and it's like, oh my God, if they had won, and none of this is applicable because they didn't win, but if they had won, to me, I think Rick Barnes would have punched his ticket to the Naismith Hall of Fame, which I think he probably belongs in anyway. But, I mean, that to me is put him in with the next class if they had gone to the Final Four. If they had gone to the Final Four, this would have been a Tennessee team that everybody would remember for their grit and toughness, and guys like Jacoby Gillespie and J.P. Estrella, people would have remembered fondly for eras. Because this team wasn't really that good. I don't think anybody really thought the Vols were going to make it to the Final Four going into this tournament. And so that was there for the taking, but that wasn't like, oh my God, the legacy of the Vols will be stained forever if they lose this game. Unlike maybe John Shire for what happened yesterday. So I really don't look at that as a negative yesterday, other than the fact that the actual game itself sucked. I thought the officiating yesterday was horrendous, but I thought it was horrendous on both sides. And once Akpara went out with multiple fouls, and I think they had to bring in number 6, who I had never heard of, this freshman, whose body looks like Draymond Green, but they put him out there, and he's terrible. The game was over. But, I mean, they could have played 100 times, and Michigan would have won 99 times. But this was a fun team to watch. I thought they played great on Friday night. I thought they were excellent. I thought it was an excellent, just a wonderful coaching job by Rick Barnes and his staff. And I think Tennessee fans should be proud of their basketball team, and I think Rick Barnes should be proud of himself, even though they lost by 100 yesterday against Michigan. The other thing, though, that we do have to get to when it comes to the Vols, and there are some of you people out there that are not going to like this. Vanderbilt kicked your ass this year. Because Vanderbilt baseball, which is not even having a good season by Vanderbilt baseball standards, swept Tennessee this weekend with 3 walk-offs. Vanderbilt went into Neyland Stadium and smoked Tennessee in football. Vanderbilt took 2 out of 3 during the year from Tennessee basketball. The Vanderbilt women beat the Lady Vols, and baseball swept Tennessee. For the 2025-2026 school year, Vanderbilt was 7-1 against Tennessee in football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and baseball. Folks, that's an ass kicking. And I know Tennessee's basketball team went further than Vanderbilt's. And I know that Vanderbilt got upset by Notre Dame in the Sweet 16. And I know that Tennessee's baseball team was ranked higher than Vanderbilt's going into the series. It doesn't matter. Rivalries are about you versus them. And this year, Vanderbilt is 7-1. Now, I believe that this rivalry is going to be much more competitive as we go forward because NIL money has leveled the playing field and Vanderbilt's got it. Tennessee fans will say, one good season for Vandy, trying to deflect reality because they just can't admit that that's what happened this year. But that is, in fact, what happened this year. Vanderbilt mopped the floor with the University of Tennessee. Does that mean it will happen next year? There's no way to know. And it doesn't erase history, at least in my lifetime, of the past 30 years, where Tennessee has, for the most part, dominated Vanderbilt. But if you care about what's coming, and if you want to talk about what is, right now Vanderbilt's better than Tennessee across the board. Vanderbilt's better at football. Vanderbilt was better at basketball when they played each other this year. Vanderbilt is most certainly better at women's basketball. Kim Caldwell's going to get fired after this year. And Vandy swept them in baseball. So, when it comes to the state of Tennessee, congratulations. It wasn't even close, by the way, this year. Congratulations to Vanderbilt, champions of the state of Tennessee for the 2025-2026 academic season. Better luck next year to Tennessee. So that's the second thing as far as the UT situation is concerned. Now, let's get to your reaction. You know I love getting to your reaction. The Titans are on the table. Again, at some point here, either this week or next week, we will have a Titans therapy session for yours truly, where we get to the bottom of my negativity, my skepticism, everything. One witty banner. It's good to have Witty back in the chat. Says, why does you not buying what the Titans are saying have weight to when you never buy into them now? I mean, again, I'm not saying it has weight or doesn't have weight. I'm not telling you not to go buy the new jerseys because I hate the new jerseys. I'm just pointing out what I think is constant bullshit from the Titans. And it drives me crazy. And so should that ruin your fandom of the Titans? I don't think it should. But when Nick Suss and I are hosting a football show the day after the uniform unveiling, and he says Burke Nihill told him that the new uniforms have nothing to do with the Houston Oilers or the city of Houston. Come on now. And I just get so angry because I think it's dishonest. And I think where that comes from, that anger that I have, is I believe that when the Titans tell me something that I know is not true, and I challenge it, and that challenge gets disregarded as, oh, Jared, you don't understand, which it always is, I kind of feel like they're telling me I'm stupid. And I don't know how many times I have to be told I'm stupid. And then the thing that we're arguing about that I believe they're wrong about ends up being right, that I then get angry at the gall that I feel like they have to keep telling me the same shit. I'll give you an example. And let me state for the record, I do not think I am a better football executive than Mike Borgonzi. I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to play doctor. For instance, our son has allergies. Our pediatrician said, give him children's Zyrtec. So he takes 2.5 milliliters of children's Zyrtec every morning. Why? Because the doctor told us to. And when somebody will say, well, I don't like the idea of giving my son medication for, well, I'm not a doctor. So I'm not going to try to tell you that my son doesn't need to take Zyrtec. And I understand the society we live in where everybody thinks they know how to do everybody else's job. So I do not think that I can evaluate football talent better than Mike Borgonzi. I'm not saying that. But when you judge a general manager, do you not judge the general manager based off of the biggest decisions the general manager makes? And picking the quarterback, that's a pretty big decision, is it not? I think it's a pretty big decision. And so I wanted to go with Sam Darnold, as it's well documented. They wanted to go with Cam Ward. Sam Darnold won the Super Bowl. He threw for 364 and 3 touchdowns in the NFC title game. Cam Ward had the lowest QBR in the NFL this year. And I said to somebody with the Titans, I said, when we talk about decision-making and general managers, and do we look at it like each decision counts as a batting average? And whether it's a single or a homer, they all count the same? Or do we look at the big decisions and say, hey, you got it right at quarterback, they didn't? Because Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah got fired in Minnesota because they got it wrong at quarterback. And the person with the Titans who I'd had this discussion with texted back and was like, well, I think everybody thinks they can play general management. I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. Again, it's more that you don't understand. Really? Because I'm the one who I think does understand what a GM does because I worked with a GM. And so when your current GMs do things that the other general manager that was good at it would never have done because that's what I learned, I know I'm right. But Jared, you don't understand. It's like the end of the David Poyle era. I kept getting, Jared, you don't understand the first round pick for Ryan Hartman. And I ended up being right. And I just get angry when people act like that. Oh, yeah. You are so smart. Which is just unbelievable. Maddie says, the reason I am suspect about everything the Titans say is because of their past actions. The organization seems to be run by a bunch of buffoons, and until they prove otherwise, they are. I tend to agree with that. And that's where I would throw Brinker and Burke Nihill and the owners and everybody else right now is it looks like they don't know what they're doing. Because, again, these people talk so definitively and have been so wrong. And so if you speak so definitively and you've been so wrong and there's not even an ounce of hesitancy in your pontifications about how great things are, it makes me hard to believe it. Like when Burke Nihill talks about, oh my God, the reaction to the new uniforms has been so overwhelmingly positive. When I know that I think there's probably a third of the fan base that doesn't like being the Oilers, then don't come out and tell me how great it is all the time. Henry says, you love the Titans and you're tired of being let down. See, I don't think I've been let down. I'm pretty skeptical, and I think it's the other way around. I like being surprised. I like being surprised about being wrong and being skeptical and then watching the Titans kick someone's ass when I didn't think they could do it. I enjoy that more than it's about being wrong. I mean, I'm trying to think of the last time I really feel like the Titans let me down. The Bengal playoff game, I could say I felt like I was let down, but I was riding Tannehill pretty hard at that point because I thought Tannehill was having a pretty bad season. I was all over Tannehill during that 2021 year, and then Tannehill went out there and crapped his pants against the Bengals. I mean, I was scared to death of that Cincinnati game. And I knew to, and, there's no way to know because they didn't play, but if they had played the Chiefs, I think they would have crushed the Chiefs the next week. Joe said, Burke said Callahan was a home run. Yeah, a lot of that toxic positivity that came out, it made me really nervous. And I kept saying it. I remember people were like, what does that even mean, toxic positivity? That's an oxymoron. I'm like, no. If everything you say is good, even when it's bad, that's toxic. Oh, you're not overweight. You're only 800 pounds. You're just big boned. Yeah, hypertension, diabetes, high blood pressure. They don't care about your feelings. You need to go outside for a walk. John says, your anger is very justified. It's been an incompetent shit show for years, and we're all sick of it. I don't know. I think there are a lot of people that keep coming back being like, okay, Burke Nihill says this new stadium's going to sell out. The only way to get tickets is to be a season ticket holder. You got to go do it. You got to. Again, Braden and Suss, and I heard it on Thursday, and I didn't go back and listen to it, but I just heard it when I heard it. I mean, the Titans have already sold out every ticket of that new stadium, it sounds like, which, of course, they haven't. And the Titans have told everybody throughout the PSL sale process that everything's going great, and they've sold all these tickets, and wow, they've been so overwhelmed. And now the Titans are having an event where if you buy PSLs, they'll give you a free jersey. By the way, I bought expensive PSLs. Where's my free jersey, Burke? So I have a hard time believing that the PSL sales are going as well as they say they are. I didn't get a free jersey. TDG says BTS, battered Titans syndrome. Well, I just want somebody that's been there and done that in the NFL to shoot me straight a little bit. Not, well, we're going to have competition at right guard and center. We still have the day 2 of the draft, day 3 of the draft where we can get a guard, we can get a center. So we're not really worried about it. And I'm like, again, I don't know what that's what it sounds like he said. You can't have competition on the offensive line in the NFL the way the rules are written. And by the way, it's not going to get any better because they're going to go to 18 games and they're going to get rid of another preseason game. So you're only going to have 2 preseason games to get ready for the season. Again, that's fine. I mean, I don't give a shit about the preseason, but you cannot develop an offensive line that way. That's why when it comes to Jackson Slater and plugging him in there, I'm like, he needs snaps. You can't just put him in there. Ty says, replacement ref season inbound. My advice to the referees, and I don't trust what NFL Network's Tom Pelissero reported about, the gap between the two sides and everything else. My advice to the referees would be this. And I could be totally wrong here and talking out of my ass and not having a clue. But my advice to the referees would be this. Hold out. Hold out. We all saw what happened 15 years ago when the NFL went the route of replacement refs, and it was such an unmitigated disaster that the NFL ultimately had to come back to the table. The NFL is greedy. The NFL is very corporate. The NFL, very fickle. But the NFL is not stupid. And so the NFL, the greedy, fickle NFL that knows what they're doing, is not going to run replacement referees out there. It's easy to say, we'll get the viewers no matter what. We'll get the tickets no matter what. And there's some truth to that. But they're not going to put that product back out there. And if the NFL has replacement referees who are unqualified, and games are decided by those unqualified referees, you may see some lawsuits as far as the sports books and the gambling community is concerned. And I don't think you want to do that either. I think the NFL, who has 99% of the leverage 99% of the time, is ultimately going to cave into the referees because they can't put the replacements out there. I could be totally wrong about that. I could be talking out of my ass about that. I just don't think it's going to happen. So that would be my advice to the Referees Association. Hold out. I don't think they can do this with replacement referees. I mean, the worst baseball umpire since I was a kid has been C.B. Buckner. And now that they've got the ABS, the automatic challenge system in there, he got challenged on back-to-back calls and lost them the other day. And C.B. Buckner got challenged a bunch, and he's been terrible. And he's, at some point, Major League Baseball is opening themselves up to a lawsuit for negligence for having this guy umpire games for that long. Because it's obvious he's so bad, the NFL can't put themselves in that situation. So I think it'll end up being fun. Joe says Borgonzi says one thing and then does another. So far, that's kind of the rap that I've got on him. Oh, yeah, we're going to have competition at right guard and we're going to have competition at center. I don't even know how you do that. Jared in Spring Hill, if Ward had competition last year, he wouldn't have started. But we gift jobs to players. Well, you draft the quarterback number 1 overall, and you unretire Warren Moon's number. I mean, he's going to be the starter. Like, Fernando Mendoza's going to be the starter in Vegas. I just accept it. Kyle says, you're almost always right about the Titans, Jared. That's why we love to listen. I wouldn't say I'm almost always right. I just think I'm way more right than their optimism wants them to be. Kevin says, having the Super Bowl here will absolutely bring the city to a halt. Rush hour is bad enough. The actual Super Bowl is 2 weeks long. I'll say this. I was walking like 8 or 9 miles a day in San Francisco. I didn't even bother with Ubers. Like, did not bother with Ubers in San Francisco for the most part, because I was just like, I walked everywhere downtown San Francisco because everything was just like standstill traffic. So yes, that I understand. Kyle says, why can't Vandy get to an Elite Eight? You know, Mark Byington just got a contract extension, and even in women's basketball, I think the expectations are higher. And I think when it comes to Vandy in men's basketball and women's basketball, so long are the days of, well, it was a good season. Not with the money they're investing. 2 quick things I want to get to. Number 1, the Predators. So I declared the Predators a playoff team in 2026, and immediately they dropped 3 in a row. Now, they're still technically second in the wild card spot in the West, although LA is 1 point behind them with a game in hand. Money Puck gives the Predators a 21.3% chance at making it to the playoffs. That's not very good. That's less than 1 in 4 for all of us that made it past 7th grade math. I still think they're going to make the playoffs, but this road trip that starts Thursday for them, LA, San Jose, LA, Anaheim, Utah, I kind of feel like the playoffs have started for them, and they're probably going to have to win these games. Like, they're going to have to win at LA twice. It just is what it is. They're going to have to beat San Jose, and they're going to have to beat them again. They're going to have to win 75% of the games left on the schedule. And I don't know if they can or if they will or if they won't or if they, but before I went to Hilton Head, they had a 60% chance of making the playoffs. Now it's down to 21.3. I still think they're going to do it. But this was a rough 3-game stretch. And congratulations to UC Soros in a big game on Saturday night against the Canadians, a game they needed to win, got his ass kicked because that's what Soros does. He wins the games that aren't that big of a deal. When you've waved the white flag on the season, Soros becomes a Vezina caliber goalie. And when you need him to stand on his head to steal you a game that really, really matters, whether it's in the playoffs of the regular season or in the Olympics or the Four Nations, he doesn't do it. So good luck to the Preds. I mean, I thought they really had the mojo going, and then boom, 3 in a row. Not good. And finally, how about the Braves? So baseball season, I promised this show, I'll do more Braves. Why not? And the Atlanta Braves take 2 out of 3 to open the season. I am a subscriber to Braves Vision. It was very easy to buy and very easy just to put on the TV. And Hilton Head, I got Braves Vision on my phone. I was streaming it on my iPad. It looked great. They win Friday night behind Chris Sale to start the season 1-0. Then they were on Fox on Saturday night. And I was flipping between that and the basketball when we got home on the island. And I watched the Dominic Smith walk-off grand slam. And now they lost yesterday. They play the A's tonight at home, 6:15, Braves Vision. Again, very easy to use. They have a free trial if you want to try it out. Again, I don't work for them, so I'm not trying to pump it, but I'm just saying. But I got to say, there was some positivity, some positive vibes. And I'll say this when it comes to the Braves. When it comes to baseball, it's such a long season. I do not worry at all about the division until at least Memorial Day. And I do not worry about the wild card until July 4th. The beginning of the season is for figuring your shit out. And when it comes to the Braves, you just want to win series so you don't get too far behind and you don't have problems with it. And right now they're 1-0 in winning series. And I will tell you, I understand the idea of paying for streaming services and clicking and everything else. Braves Vision, pretty damn good. And they've got a throwback to the old TBS music as kind of their theme song, which I thought was just a beautiful chef's kiss. And I'm excited for the Braves game tonight. So that'll do it for us. We'll have more reaction. Robert Saleh's supposed to speak tomorrow. So I don't know what Saleh would be saying this time of year that you haven't already heard, but we'll have more reaction from the owners' meetings tomorrow. Like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Stillman and Company on the 440 Sports Network, presented by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, Electrical. We'll see everybody live tomorrow at 2 o'clock.